You want to evaluate what is your best alternative to a negotiated agreement. It's a concept that comes from Roger Fisher and Bill Urey's book, Getting to Yes, probably the best-selling book on negotiation ever published. And what they say is your leverage in a negotiation is based not on necessarily the deal that you have with the other side, but what you're going to do if you don't do a deal with them. So for instance, in a litigation context, what are you going to do if you don't settle the case? What are you going to do if you don't settle the case? You're going to try it, right? So what does that suggest you need to always do to maximize your leverage? Be prepared, absolutely be prepared, and as critical as be prepared, express the willingness, the interest, the desire to go to trial and to take the case to trial. Because the moment that you send a signal of weakness, I don't want to try it, we're not interested in that, in fact, that is when the other side is going to perceive your alternative to be weaker than it might not otherwise, than it might otherwise be. So you want to do the BATNA, and you want to do the BATNA for the other side as well. You want to evaluate not only what is your alternative, but what is their alternative, and what is their perception of their alternative. Because in a litigation context, for instance, their alternative may also be taking it to trial. But if we're talking about a government context, government resources are in fact sometimes limited, and they don't have an unlimited ability to spend time and effort and money and budget on particular matters. And so we have to evaluate their alternative and what they're going to do and the amount of resources they are willing to put in a particular matter, and recognize and understand that that alternative needs to be evaluated relative to our alternative. Why do we do this? It tells us when to walk. You should always walk away from a deal if you believe that your best alternative to a deal with the other side is better than what's on the table. Likewise, you should always you should always sign the deal and accept the agreement if it's better than your evaluation of the value of your best likely alternative. It tells you when to walk, it tells you when to sign. So instead of using a quote-unquote bottom line analysis in determining when to walk and when to sign, you should be using a BATNA analysis. So for instance, in this house negotiation 6 years ago, I should walk away from the deal if I am perfectly willing and satisfied to continue to live in the apartment and to spend my free time looking for a house. However, if I'm sick of it, if I'm tired of it, if I want to get the deal done, then I need to evaluate it relative to that alternative. I also need to take into consideration in the strategic evaluation the seller's alternative. Okay? She's going to move into her new house in 3 weeks. Once she has moved into her new house, she's going to be making payments on 2 different houses, one of which is going to be empty. That is, presumably, we assume, not a particularly appealing alternative for her. And to the extent that we can confirm that that's the case, that it's not simply based on our perception, is also one way that we can maximize our leverage. How do you do this? You want to invent alternatives to take. If you don't or can't reach agreement, you want to convert those alternatives into practical possibilities, and ultimately you want to select the best and measure other offers against it.